going.
Hello, this thing on?
Oh, look at that!
Leaving the chat room, you take so long.
I got an in studio.
This is
awesome.
Is how we start right here. Just everybody talking. We're just going all at it. This show. Yeah, we're
live.
We are live, buddy.
Wait, I'm not ready to go live yet. So let's
wait. Let's pause this broadcast.
I gotta go pee. I gotta pee.
Oh man! All righty. Welcome everybody to another edition of Stogie411. I am here with my partner in crime, Mr. Michael Williams. How you doing, Mike?
I'm great. Stogie411. I thought we were doing the '80s throwback. I got the new members of Metallica in front of me.
Oh,
we're ready to talk everything music. We're not even going to talk cigars today. We are going to talk music. We're going to talk politics. We're going to talk. Now we're not going to talk about dead people. We won't talk about that. But anyways, yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks for everybody joining us in the chat room for this wonderful Saturday edition of Stogie411. And we have none other than Mr. Nomad himself, Fred, with us today. Fred, how's it going? Look, right when he was puffing, I asked. That's my famous thing. I wait till everybody puffs and then ask a question. How's it going, man?
That's good. I don't know about the Metallica reference. I feel like I'm being interviewed by Hootie there in the studio then, I guess. So
Hootie.
We're going to have to come up with something who you're going to be in all this.
The a-hole. We're all in the same room, actually. People don't realize it. Look at the background. We're all in the same room. We're just effing with you all, so you don't know, really. We're in the same bathroom together, the three of us.
Scary.
Yeah, it's a very large bathroom. Very large bathroom.
In Mike's house.
Yeah.
So anyways, so let's kick this off. So right now, I just took the band off, but I am smoking. I don't have my glasses, so I got to put it far away because I'm fucking old. I'm smoking the S307. So let's talk a little bit about the S307 because I'm digging. I'll tell you one thing right off the bat, Fred. Before I lit it, I took a cold draw, and all I got was licorice, and it was awesome. I'm going to tell you right now, it was awesome. I'm midway through it, and I'm digging it already. So let's talk about this cigar, and then we'll get to, not that there's nothing wrong with it, but we'll get to the Connecticut for Mikey later on. Let's the real men talk now.
Well, the 307, I mean, a lot of guys have the Lajero in the middle. I just went for the Twizzlers licorice stick right in the middle. I mean, I thought it's a licorice and 2-bar. And no, it's, the box press Sumatra, the S307, S is for Sumatra, 307 is a square miles of Esteli, which is how I came up with the name. And it was my first Nicaraguan production cigar. So I guess it's been about a year and a half now, almost actually 2 years probably since that one came out. It's aging really well. I actually smoked one yesterday. I've been so hung up on smoking some of the other ones lately and some new stuff. I actually pulled out a 307 and smoked it. And it was honestly stronger than I remembered it being. It's definitely aging. Box press Sumatra, not an overly complex blend, particularly by the standards of what I've learned since then. But just a nice, pleasant kind of little bit of sweetness to it. The box press is real neat on the Sumatra. When I was originally doing that, because that's the first box press cigar I did, and I really didn't have an interest in box pressing at the time. I don't dislike box presses. I know some people do. I actually think there's kind of a little bit of elegance to them if they're done right.
Right.
There's a couple challenges on box press. One is obviously they don't, sometimes just people do crappy job box pressing. And then the other part is, you have some draw considerations and everything on there. And when I was looking at doing it, and I did that out of AJ Fernandez's factory, and it was a round cigar, and then it was recommended. So, they said, well, why don't you go ahead and try box pressing it because it really smooths out that wrapper if it's done right. And I'm like, I don't know. Some guys really don't like the box press. And the response was like, yeah, Padron doesn't sell any box presses. Don't worry about it. There's no market. I'm like, okay, all right. Point taken. Box press some of them. Let's try it. And it was absolutely the right recommendation because I'm like, oh, it was just, it smoothed it out. It really, so I'm really happy with that. And like I said, it's aging really well. A couple guys that actually do reviews on cigars as they age. It's climbed up that list farther and farther. So I'm real happy with that. It's probably still the best seller from the core ones, but the other ones are, the portfolio is really equaling out because for the first time, I actually have 5 full production blends. And it's kind of spreading out a little bit now, but the longest time because of the price point and everything else, that was the best seller. And, it's kind of like for Nicaragua, that's like, I did the LE, but that was my first full production. So it's kind of like, you kind of like your first kid better than your second kid.
Right.
So, and I can say that because I only have one kid, so I'm not hurting anybody's feelings. One kid that I know of. And so it's there's always a fondness there, but it's a cigar that, when you look at, now that I've got 5 blends and I'm looking at some new blends coming up, you look at what to potentially phase out, and I don't see that cigar going anywhere too soon.
Yeah, I like the box. I like it in a box press. I'm a fan. I like a soft press as well, but it's a nice. It's really good. I think it's got a nice flavor to it.
Now, what
I'm digging it. I can't wait to smoke
with that box press. Do you know? I've always wondered, how does the pressing change the taste of the cigar that much? Is it just because it melds everything together more, or lets out the?
I don't know that it does. That's a great question for somebody way smarter than me. Which really is anybody else you have on the show. I can't. To me, the only difference is when I have it, and I have some that are around and I have some that are box press, I notice a distinct difference in the draw. And I want to say there's a little bit more air to the round than there is. There's a little bit more draw. So some of the flavors get a little more subtle in the round, but that's just if I was a blogger and I was making up shit to try to figure out how to answer it. I really don't. I don't think it's dramatic. But that's a good question. That, like I said, when you get a real guest, I'd ask them somebody that really knows what they're talking about. Because I don't notice a huge difference. But there is a subtle difference to it. But I don't know if it's psychological because you have a box press in your mouth versus a round. So now I'm imagining all these things that are different when in reality, I've never had them side by side, smoked them back and forth, and that would be a really cool thing to do.
Let me ask you this: when you say it, you notice that they're aging better, they're smoking better. When you say they're smoking better, are they changing in complexity, flavor, draw? How are they aging better?
The Ligero was already aged Ligero to start.
Mm-hmm.
And for whatever reason, an extra year and a half of marrying and stuff like that seems to be getting, it's losing the upper part of the spiciness a little bit,
mm-hmm.
but it's getting this little bit of richer flavor in the Ligero. So it's just, there's some cigars, they're smokable and then you lay them down for a while and you're like, wow, it's really just coming together, and it's kind of esoteric and hard to put your hands on it. But for me, I hadn't smoked one probably for maybe even 2 months. And when I had it, it was stronger than I remembered. And the Ligero seemed more mature or more aged
mm-hmm.
than I remembered it. So I think it's doing a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Well,
I like it. I got a separate humidor. I age cigars in there, cigars that I've tried before and I've liked, and just to see what they've done 6 months or a year down the road to see the difference. And usually what I find is for me, the taste changes, the complexity of the taste. It's either a little milder or a little stronger, but there's something different I noticed 6 months to a year that I didn't catch the first time I smoked it.
Right.
So that's why I was just curious what you meant by it. It changed
and I think it depends on the blend. Some blends kind of, they lose their, spiciness. Some of them even lose some of their strength.
Right.
So in this particular case, for some reason, the Ligero seemed to, maybe the Jalapa miled out a little bit more, and the Ligero took a little bit more of a front row to that. But whatever it is, I'm digging it. And I'd like to say I planned that, but I'd be just making that shit up.
It's all right. You can do that. It's the internet.
We make shit up all the time.
If it's on the internet, it's true. It's true.
That's right. That's right.
How about if I take a question here? Our chat room's getting a little busy.
Yeah, it is.
All right. John wants to know, Fred, what's your strategy or inspiration when thinking of blending a new cigar? Is it what leaf is available? Is it what's hot? Or do you have a specific blend that you are looking for?
Yeah, definitely the last one. I look at, initially it was just what kind of cigar do I like and what am I in the mood for? I don't go by what leaf's available. I don't go by the pricing of the leaves or anything else like that. I can get really any tobacco I want. You just have to pay for it. And from day one, I was not going to sacrifice a blend. So the 307 is a very good example. When I was blending that cigar, I wanted it to be a stronger cigar, but I kept forcing it into a category that it wasn't. So it ended up being a really good medium. Now, and early on, guys were calling it more of a medium full. And now that it's aged, I'm like, yeah, it actually is close to a medium full. But my strategy is that when I, look, first and foremost, I've been a cigar fan for 15 years. So when I go to do a new cigar, and particularly now that I have 5 blends, now I'm like, okay, it's like when you finish a meal, it's like, what am I in the mood for? Today's cigar smoker has several cigars in their humidor, not just one box, one brand, one size. So, I look at my portfolio, or I look at what I'm going to blend and go, what am I missing in my portfolio? And several people have noticed, like in my portfolio, they're all very distinctly different cigars. There's no, like if you like one, they might be both 2 medium categories, but they're very different. So the Sumatra, I think, is pretty close to a medium full. The new 8613 to me is a medium to medium full, but they are dramatically different styles. So, when I'm not blending, I get to be the cigar geek again, and I get to go into the humidor and try all my friends' cigars that I haven't had a chance to try, because I don't try them when I'm blending, just because palate-wise, and I don't want it to influence it. But it does influence it in the off season of not blending, if you will, because then I'm out there and going, man, I really like this style, or I like what they went for here, and I kind of like that. How can I, have that category and put my own take on it? So it's definitely, I'm looking for, I have an idea of, man, I don't have this type of cigar. So the C276, which is my fuller bodied cigar, I knew I wanted to have a fuller body cigar. I've had a steak dinner, I've had, some wine or some single malt, and I want something that's just a bigger cigar. So the reason behind that one is I went in and I had nothing in that category. It's like, okay, if I'm to do a stronger cigar, what I don't want strength for strength's sake. I always blend more to flavor than I do strength, and let the strength play wherever it is. So that one was all about complexity. That one ended up with 5 different tobaccos in the filler, Condega and Esteli Ligero, Ometepe, just to get layer after layer of flavor in there. So, and then I just kind of let the strength part play out wherever it does, but not take it so strong that I lose the flavor. Because there's a point, to me, at least in my amateur view of blending, the more strength you put on it, if you go too far, then you start to lose the subtleties because everything else takes over. So where's that balance? And the C276, to be honest, I don't know when I'm going to blend a more complex, better cigar. It just nailed exactly what I wanted. So no, the only thing that influences me is like, hey, what flavor profile do I want? What flavors do I want? I look at the tobacco, because Ometepe was the first time I used that in the C276, but I brought the Ometepe back again in the 8613. Only this time I was using more of the Ometepe to get that underlying sweetness, as opposed to just another layer within the filler subtle. So I definitely blend for what is it that I'm trying to achieve? What taste am I going for?
There you go, Johnny. Couldn't have said it better. The questions are going nuts in there. I'm afraid. I'm trying to keep it on course so we can get to it without jumping all around. But man, if I don't ask them, we're gonna miss them, because they're going all over. So
I'll shorten the answers. We'll just rapid fire.
No, you're fine, Fred. You're fine. It's just these guys are active this morning. They're busy. So let's see. We'll ask this one. Frank's got one. He said, out of all your blends, which one's your favorite so far?
Oh, it's like picking a favorite child. I can't. It depends on my mood. I don't want it to be a cop-out answer, but it's like me putting back on anybody else. Oh, what's your favorite cigar? And it's like, usually everybody has a core favorite. I would probably say, if I had to pick, I'm still, even though I just came out with the 8613, I think your favorite is always your last cigar. So I might say the 8613, but then again, if you ask me, like in the morning, I'm smoking a Connecticut Fuerte, which I think hits exactly that mark. So you'd have to ask me, what's my favorite cigar during the time of day? In the morning, it's the Connecticut Fuerte. At night, in the evening, it's going to be the 307 or C276. Middle of the day, a lot of times the 8613. So it just depends on what am I eating, what am I doing.
There you go. That's a great answer.
Yeah, and that's how it works out for a lot of people, I think, too. People don't usually like the same cigar early morning as they do late night. It changes just because of what you've eaten, what you've had for dinner, whatever. It even does that for me. Now I don't go too far. But.
Yeah, and we're
Wait,
like,
you're lying. You smoke. Yeah. You smoke the same damn one all the time. What are you talking about?
We're like wine drinkers now, though. It's like, what did I eat? What am I in the mood for? Like Scotch drinkers. There's 10 million Scotches out there, and people don't typically always stick to the same one. Cigar smokers have evolved to their palates are so sophisticated, even the amateurs, that they're for the most part going, hey, you know, like I'm not going to light up a C276 on the golf course because it's going to screw up my golf game. But, you know, we gravitate toward what am I in the mood for? We walk over to the humidor and it's a candy store. And it's like, you know, what am I in the mood for right at this particular moment?
Yeah, and it's great. It is. It's like the candy store. I mean, actually, a gentleman was in there earlier when I was in the humidor here at a tobacco company, and he said the same thing. He goes, it was like kid in a candy store. He goes, but when I'm in the mood, he goes, I go right for what I want, grab it, and get out. You know, it's like if you know exactly what you want before you go in, poof. But if you're open, then you have so much to pick from. It's not even funny.
John G said, "Hey Fred, I never received my coffee cup I ordered. Can I have my $2,500 back?"
Yes.
Checks in the mail.
For everybody that doesn't know what the hell I'm talking about, I have an e-letter that goes out sporadically. That is the stupidest email I've ever written, but it's fun to do. But on April Fool's, I put out an email basically saying that I was not going to make coffee because I don't drink coffee, so it'd be absolute fake. But I said I was going to put out coffee mugs, and I had like several different levels of the coffee mug you could buy. That was the April Fool's joke, and so I stole from Apple the iWatch scenario. So I had different levels, and I think the $2,500 level might have been the hipster level that came with a canvas bag and a roll of toilet paper or something like that. And but you know, I got a lot of emails people wanting the cups, and I'm like, no, I'm sorry, I'm really not making the cups.
See that? You broke all their hearts.
I know.
Let's see. You want to? I'll ask Frank. Frank wants to know: are you a fan of San Andreas tobacco?
I am. I'm playing with it right now. I'm a big fan. It's one that you know. Same thing with 276. The year before, I could have made that one. I've been playing with the San Andreas now for about, aggressively probably for the last 6 months. You know, it's funny. People look at that wrapper and they're like, oh my gosh, that's strong and stuff like that. It's a great sweetness. It's a great, you know, toothiness to the wrapper. So I've been playing with that. But until I totally get my arms around how to blend with it and what showcases it, I'm not quite there. I might have something by the end of the year. I've laid down a bunch to see how they, you know, kind of marry long term. But I think it's a neat wrapper, and it'll probably be that, and broadleaf will be the next two that I really look real closely to putting in the portfolio.
Nice.
All right.
Well, let's move on. Let's talk about the cigar that I'm smoking here. Whoops, wrong camera for the people out there. Sorry.
No, you were originally on the right camera
for you. This is the right camera for them. See, I have two.
What? Different cameras?
Oh yeah, hey,
we're
Fred,
a high-end show, buddy.
I know people think this ain't some rinky-dink outfit you got running here.
Well, oh, I got to get on the right camera. Hold on. Okay.
There you go. That's the right one. And Fred, you're actually smoking this too, the Connecticut Fuerte.
Why, yes, I am, Michael.
Okay, Frederick.
Great question, Mike. Great freaking question.
Wow, it's like Diane Sawyer with Bruce Jenner here. Yes,
well, actually, see, you kind of ruined the surprise. Mike was actually he's in transition right now. He was going to come out later during the show and let you know.
I was gonna, but now it's over.
Yeah, it's not even a surprise. We all figured that, so I don't know what the big deal.
Oh hell!
It's my little transgender over there. I love him.
All right. So the Connecticut Forte was interesting because I had already blended a couple cigars, went back to DR. I wanted to do a Connecticut, and it was an absolute ego crushing experience from the standpoint is that I thought, oh, this will be easy, do a Connecticut. And actually it was probably the hardest cigar to do because everything I was smoking, I was so used to medium full, playing with some Nicaraguan tobaccos that when I went in there, everything I was coming up with was just boring. I mean, it was just a boring cigar. And so, I mean, I probably could have put out some of the earlier, milder editions that probably would have worked among the Connecticut smokers, but it wasn't really going to be a cigar that I was going to smoke personally. So I wasn't willing to do that. So the idea came where we talked about maybe kind of boosting it up a little bit. So we actually took a Dominican cigar, an Ecuadorian Connecticut wrapper, but we actually started playing with different Ligeros in it. And then we settled on a Nicaraguan Ligero in it. So the deal is that I was trying to take a Connecticut cigar and give it a little bit more for the people that weren't necessarily going to a medium or medium full cigar, but just give them a little bit more flavor to it, kind of that transitional cigar, if you will. The audience I really got, which I would like to say that I thought of this in advance, but I didn't, were the guys that gave up on Connecticut. So I was literally at an event And I'm like, hey, got the new Connecticut cigar. And the guy's like, 3 guys were there. And I remember it. And they're like, oh, we don't smoke Connecticut's anymore. They suck. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. Well, I didn't bring anything else here. Just try them tomorrow with breakfast. And all 3 of them the next day said, dude, you like reintroduced me into Connecticut. I had given up on Connecticut. So the nice thing is the guys that are the medium and medium full smokers, I'm finding that they're buying them because it's like, man, this is the breakfast cigar for them. This is the Connecticut that's got a little bit of attitude. It's got a little bit more flavor. Connecticut does, it's certainly going to be milder, but it doesn't have to be boring. And particularly if you're only smoking Connecticut's, then you get the subtleties of a Connecticut cigar, a traditional Connecticut cigar, I'll say, or a Dominican cigar that's milder. If you have been smoking medium full, and you're smoking, on a regular basis, daily or whatever, you don't get a lot of those. I think your palate's a little matured to the point that you're not even matured, maybe burnt. I don't know. But you're not getting some of those subtle flavors. So those guys really dug it. So I actually picked up both audiences in the process, and I was just really happy with it. And it took off way more than I ever thought, because here I was all proud of a couple of the other blends and like, oh, the Connecticut's really taken off, and you're like, really, the Connecticut's taking off? But it fit a niche, and it's a cigar. It's a Connecticut that I will smoke. It's a Connecticut that I like. That it's got a lot of flavor to it. It's a little more complex than some other Connecticut's, and it's just gaining market share. It really is. So I'm real happy with it, and I wouldn't change a thing. I'm revisiting the Connecticut right now for another project I've got going that'll actually not have the Ligero, and it's a little bit milder, a little more of a traditional Connecticut, and I'm actually liking it. I'm finding a place when I have that, but I wouldn't change a thing on this one.
What you said the Connecticut got Ligero in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So would you say it's still mild, or is it more towards a mild to medium?
Well, let's ask
strength.
Mike, would you say it's a mild? It's more of a medium? I mean, what would you say on the Connecticut scale?
Well, comparing it to original regular Connecticut shade, I would say it'd be more along the lines of we would say medium. But it's
and that's usually what I tell people, because if you're a true mild Connecticut smoker, it's a medium for you.
Yeah. Right. Now it has, because the Nicaraguan Ligero, I guess, it has a little more bite to it than what your normal the normal Connecticut is a lot creamier, where this has a little bit of that bite to it, and it's nice.
Right.
I like it now. Like you said, Fred, too. It won't stand up to a steak dinner, for a full meal in the evening or anything like that. But I love these things. I mean, morning through afternoon, and if you have a light meal at dinner, you can even smoke them then. But I mean, I do absolutely love them. I think
it's like the first cigar of the day, or if you're going to be hanging out for a long time and you're going through a lot of cigars and you just kind of want to dial back a cigar but still have some flavor, because you can actually smoke a medium full and you go, hey, I still want to smoke, but I want to dial back a little bit. Mm-hmm. You still get some flavors out of it. Not as much as a clean palate, but you still get some flavors out of it.
Monday morning, I'm golfing again. Actually, that's the cigar I'm going to smoke in the morning. My first cigar. I'm going to try it. And,
golf in the snow?
Yeah, check it out. Go from there.
Damn.
I'll let you know.
What is,
Not that my palate's anything. My palate sucks. This is what I'm going to light up right now, though. The Lot 8613. The one that Mike said I better make sure I ate something.
I don't know. I've been hearing there's a lot of nicotine in it.
That's normally what a pussy mild smoker would say, but that's okay. I'll man up on the show since Mike won't man up and see what
it's not. To me, it's a medium, maybe medium full, but I mean it's right in between a medium and a full. It's a medium plus. I don't know. We need to come up with some medium standards here in this friggin' industry. It's a full minus triple B rated, whatever. That cigar was really what I missed was some cigars that are out there in that kind of Cubanesque kind of style blending or whatever that's rustic, that plays with 3 tobaccos that they come together. So there's Jalapa, there's Condega Ligero, Ometepe in it. Habano wrapper again.
Beautiful.
And it's just it's more of that rustic flavor. I'll be real curious to see how that one ages. I've got some that are a year old, and it's not far off it where it starts. It does marry nicely long term. I think it'll age really well. But that cigar was exactly what I wanted to happen. It was probably one of the fastest blends that I had because I'd already played with all those tobaccos tremendously. So when I wrote it all out and I wrote out what it was, it really only required a couple small tweaks to it after I laid it down. And it nailed exactly what I was going for in the portfolio, and a very distinct, like I said, I want to say rustic, but not rustic because it's got a bite or something jumping out.
It looks rustic, actually.
Yeah, I was really going for that. And actually, I just started doing seminars just to kind of play around with some stuff. And what I do is I actually take those 3 tobaccos and we roll the little tiny cigars, and there's no wrapper on it. We do a jalapa binder, and one of them has is only jalapa. One of them is only Condego Ligero, and one of them is only Matepe. And so everybody, we did one last night or night before last, and there were like 45 people. And so everybody smoked them individually. We talked about the region. We talked about tobacco. We talked about why I use those. And then they smoked the 8613 last so they could see both, one, how the wrapper affected the taste, and 2, how those tobaccos all come together. And I'll be doing, several more of those because I really liked it. I liked the engagement. I like the experience. I like the questions that came out of it. Yeah. And it's just fun to pass that information on. I call it hacking the blend. So it's like basically, how I do it. And what happened was I was in Texas about a month and a half ago, and I was talking to a retailer that really wasn't understanding how can you blend, how can you put it together. And I said, well, I went down originally, I'm smoking all the tobaccos individually, so I understand the flavors. It's like cooking, and he wasn't getting it. And so I said, let me ask you this. I said, have you had cornflakes? And he's like, yeah, I've had cornflakes. And I said, well, have you had a raw onion? And he says, yeah, I've had a raw onion. I said, so those flavors pretty good? And he says, yeah. I said, well, if I made I could make a bowl full of cornflakes of onions right here, but you probably have an idea in your mind of what that would taste like. And that's the way it is with cooking, or that's the way it is with blending for me, is that I so it's trial and error. So you put something together and go, okay, and I think everything half leaves. So I'll write out a blend, put a half leaf of this, a full leaf of this, half leaf of this, half leaf of this, and put it all together, put it in a neutral binder, no wrapper. You smoke and go, well, okay, well, that sucked. Let's drop this down to a half leaf. Let's put this to a full leaf. And then you just start playing with it that way. And that's how I build in it. That's how I hack my way into these blends flavor-wise. And so it's been fun with the seminar to kind of bring that experience to people that want to, how do you do it?
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing. I just lit it right away. I mean, obviously, it's 2 different blends, 2 different cigars from the box press I just smoked, but right away, you get a bite instantly. If my first draw, you get that quick bite. And the other thing I want to say, and I notice every time I smoked any of your cigars, your wrappers are always, I love your wrappers because I've smoked a lot of cigars that either higher end, dollar-wise selling, or lower end selling. And I always hate a wrapper that's got this vein in it that you can just feel it when you're holding it. I hate that. And all of yours, I'm telling you, wrappers are unbelievable. I don't know what primer you use, but the wrapper's unbelievable. I got to give you kudos for that.
Thank you. I mean, look, my margins are probably lower than anybody else in the boutique cigar industry. But, I said from the beginning, I'm either going to build a brand or I'm not. And I'm not going to sacrifice the tobacco. If you've got a big vein going through there, that's pretty rare, and that's because something got through quality control or whatever. Right. You just got to deal with more expensive stuff. But if you want that more expensive stuff, then you're either going to have a cigar on the shelf that's closer to the $10 to $12, and all my cigars are under 10, which means that I've got the money's got to come from somewhere.
Right.
So, and according to my accountant, you realize, you can qualify for, charity if you're not going to make any money. But I'm like, I don't get a get out of jail free card. I can't put out a bad cigar. Right. It may not be your profile, and then I probably have something else in the line that is, but that's just a matter of making sure that you're getting good stuff, and you can get it. Even at my level, you can get it as long as you have good relationships with people supplying tobacco, but you're going to have to pay for it. And that's one of the things, same thing on construction. You want to make sure you have a well-constructed cigar. My DR cigars are made out of a very small factory. And I mean, several big guys are like, hey, come over to our factory, you can save some money. But it's like, I also know that my construction, parameters of what's acceptable in a bad cigar construction-wise, I know my percentages are much lower than a lot of big houses. And would I really jump factories for that sole purpose and run that risk? And the answer is no, not when you're trying to build a brand.
Right. Now, well, there's two questions here. One, John actually asked me, but I want to get your input also, Fred. And well, no, we won't even ask Mike, but he's and the other one is about where
is this a hair product question? Is that what it is?
I think it is, because he ain't asking me. I ain't got it.
No, John wanted to know, he asked me, how does the Connecticut stand out to you? And to me, with a Connecticut cigar, I mean, it's definitely mild most all the time. And it has that nutty flavor with a creaminess to it that just attracts me, that makes it a nice mild cigar. And
I understand why you like it. Nuts and cream. Makes sense.
And that's why I didn't ask Mike that question. Yeah.
Check, please. Check, please. We're wrapping it up. We're good.
But I mean, now you made the Connecticut Fuerte. What would you say with a Connecticut wrapper? How does Connecticut stand out to you?
How does my Connecticut stand out, or Connecticut's in general? Oh, Connecticut's to me are definitely much more of a mild cigar. Generally, I mean, obviously you can jack one up if you want, but just in generalities, it's a milder cigar. The flavors are much more subtle. I think that generally the people that have gotten away, look, the bulk of all cigar smokers are Connecticut. Okay. We in our universe of doing shows and sitting in lounges, we don't think it is, because most guys around us are not.
Right.
But you're sitting in a lounge, you're all smoking medium full or whatever. The guy that walks into the humidor, that buys a box and walks out, you know what? He just bought a Connecticut and he's going golfing. So to me, we start to lose as we're doing medium full. I think we lose some of the appreciation for the Connecticut cigars, because the flavor is floral. The flavors are very, kind of that barnyard hay and earth tones and grass and stuff like that, that sometimes we get a negative connotation, or people smoke and go, man, it's not tearing up my mouth. I guess it's like, the people that evolve into like Tabasco sauce. It's like, man, I can't eat anything without having that spice in there. Yeah. And so that if you had like a plain omelet versus, you threw Tabasco on, you're like, oh, I like the Tabasco one much better. It's got much more flavor. Well, now you can't even appreciate just a plain omelet anymore. And I think that's where sometimes you kind of have to clean out your palate a little bit. And I think it's probably even, you probably need to take, I'm guessing, about a week off or something, and then light up a Connecticut or even a milder Dominican cigar and go, oh, okay, I can taste some of those flavors now. Now, whether that's your thing or whatever you like, ultimately doesn't matter. But to me, the Connecticut's, they're full of flavor if that's what you smoke. But, when you're used to medium full, you lose the subtle taste buds, because it's a very, very subtle flavor.
I'd agree 100%.
It's like vanilla ice cream versus any other ice cream. I love vanilla ice cream, but if all you eat is like, Rocky Road chocolate, you taste the vanilla, they all taste the same. If all you have is vanilla, then you're like, wow, vanilla bean. I mean, all of a sudden you get these different tastes.
Right.
Yep, I agree. And the other one you had here before it goes off, Foodie wanted to know, where can they get your cigars in New York? Now, that leads into me saying about with your website. I love your website. There's a map right on his website you can click on and actually find any place that carries Nomad Cigars right there.
Yeah, and we're updating it. I mean, we're starting to open up a lot more stores. I'm now trying to look for what's a good fit. We're probably adding 2 to 3 stores a week right now. I think we're up to about 170 stores, but we still have a lot of territory to cover. We still have a lot of growth. We have a couple places you can purchase them online that are run by brick and mortars that also have an online presence. I haven't gone with anybody that's exclusively online. Haven't gone with anybody that's exclusively catalog, and I don't plan on it. I'm all about supporting the brick and mortars, but I also recognize there are people out in areas that they just can't get the cigars, which is why I've kind of agreed to work with a couple entities that also have an online presence that are price protecting, that I know that are reputable. I just went and visited one recently. That's a bigger one that has a shop, and I'm looking to see how their cigars are stored and how they ship them and things like that.
Cool. There you go.
Nice. So what events, Fred, do you got coming up that you're going to be at that people who have tried your cigar or haven't tried your cigar, they can stop by, shoot the shit with you, have a cigar, and
I'm gonna publish them out soon because I actually just need to put them on my website because I'm in Pennsylvania, New Jersey now. We're finishing up some stuff. I've got one over in Delaware Wednesday, and then I've got a big Texas, Wichita, Louisiana tour. Then I'm back up in Pittsburgh, and I got a couple events over there. Then I'm back over Texas again, and then we got the show. Then I'll be around, Carolinas or something like that. So I just need to put them out there on the website or whatever like that. I do try to let people know in the e-letter ahead of time where I'm going to be. Twitter, if you follow me on Twitter, I'm usually pretty good about that. But then I say that, and I'm like, I didn't even think I tweeted where I was last night. So, I need to get better now that I'm doing more events. I'm definitely doing more events this year than I ever did last year. It's an integral part of the business, and I recognize that. The seminars, we're going to start doing those seminars more now, and those are really cool. So I'm going to add something probably here pretty quick to my website of, where to find me and things like that. And I need to do that. I know I need to do that.
Cool. The chat room just got quiet.
Yeah, it's like I'm trying to, you know how hard it is to try to type on a tablet standing up while you're doing a show.
Jojo wants to know when you're coming back to the Seattle area.
Oh, I love Seattle. I don't know. It'll be late in the year probably.
Now,
Jojo,
when I get back, and that's another area. Pacific Northwest is another area that I've just got to get better representation. I mean, we brought in some reps that I know that are working the areas very well, and so it's very I want to make sure that as we expand certain areas that I've got local support for them as well.
Right. Well, speaking of the show, IPCPR, the big show that's going to be coming up. Anything new that you could talk about, or?
I'm playing with something. I'm planning on having it at the show, but I just have to see how a couple things come together. But I am planning for something new at the show. It's a different direction. I'm really looking at another level, a little bit cheaper price point. Without sacrificing the tobacco. I didn't get as low price point as I wanted, but I wasn't willing to sacrifice the tobacco. So it just plays out how it plays out. It's definitely going to be a little bit lower pricing than what I have now without giving up. And now that I'm better at blending,
mm-hmm.
I can know where I can sacrifice and not affect the blend dramatically. So I'm hoping to have out some new stuff at the show.
Do you feel a lot of pressure for the show? Like you have to come out? Do you feel like you got to come out with something new? Because it seems like the cigar industry, so many people feel every time there's a show, they got to come out with something new every year. But then I always go back to, you got Fuente and Padron. These guys hardly ever come out with something new. And they're still huge.
I don't feel any pressure to come out with stuff at the show.
No.
I think that, look, I had 8613 I released, just 2 weeks ago. The Connecticut I did last January. I just don't feel the pressure of the show. I don't like the game of it. I don't like the game that I imagine it's incredibly frustrating for retailers that some of these, if I come out, here's the thing. The difference is, and why I can come out, if I say that the cigar is coming out, it's out. It's in the warehouse. It's ready to ship. I see the frustration of a lot of retailers that someone comes out with a cigar at the show, but it's not ready to ship. So then all of a sudden, October, even November, they're just getting their show order of the new cigar. Their budgets are completely blown because I didn't know I ordered $3,500 of this. I forgot the cigar never came out. So I just don't want to play that game. So I come up with a cigar. If it comes out, last year I released a 276 at the show. The plan was actually to release it a month before the show, but we ran into an issue on some box design stuff that I wasn't happy with, so I had to delay it, and it just happened to come out at the show. But I don't feel any pressure, and I certainly don't feel any pressure now that I have 5 different blends. It's like, I just don't need to play that game. And quite honestly, I can't play that game against the big guys anyway. I mean, if I announce I got a new cigar, I'm probably better off not having it at the show because there's 5 other big guys or 100 other big guys bigger than me that they announce a new cigar. It's a big deal. I announce another cigar. It's like, oh yeah, you have a new one either way. But I'm still trying to get them on the brand, whether it's a new cigar or not. It's irrelevant. They're all new to some of these people. And so I just don't feel that pressure. And I'm not going to get into that game where, hey, I'm taking pre-orders and you'll get it 9 months from now. I just don't agree with that philosophy.
Now could you see holding a cigar for IPCPR, or would you just release it early like you have been?
Would
like,
I hold
with
it for
your latest release, like you said, it was released two weeks ago or something like that. Thinking back on it, would you say, well, maybe I could hold that for a couple months and release it at the show? Is that something that you would?
I don't think there's a reason to. I think the only reason to do that is if you get within about a 45-day window of the show, when you bring a new cigar out, you really get a lot of the I'm going to wait for the show. But if you can have, to me, like 8613, which is it came out 2 weeks ago. We've already got a bunch of reorders from retailers. So why not go into the show with momentum on a cigar that when the retailer comes up, you're not introducing the cigar. They've already heard it. They've already seen some reviews, and they already hear, their other retailer has it and selling it. Now they're approaching on a cigar that they've already heard about, as opposed to, hey, try this. Because if I'm doing the try, here's a new cigar, try it. Man, there's a million cigars to smoke at IPCPR, particularly when it's in Vegas. They walk away, and a day later, that thing's dried out unless it's in a good humidification system. Right. I would rather not release at the show. I'd rather release cigar. It's like when I released the Connecticut Forte in January. Nobody was putting a cigar out in January. It was a great time to release a cigar. 8613 coming out 2 weeks ago. No one released a cigar. So you get attention. You get retailers that have freed up pocketbooks right then to bring it in. I thought it was a great time to release a cigar. So I don't think the show is necessarily a great time to release a cigar. I think it's a great time to release if you've got something unique. And if I do what I'm looking at doing for the show, it is something a little bit different for my brand, packaging-wise, that is worth doing at the show. Almost like removing a barrier on, I don't know what to bring in. Well, hey, here's a package that's a great way to bring Nomads into your store. That's something that's worthy of a show. A new blend, there's a lot of noise on there at that point.
See, I like that too.
And I agree with you.
I don't even know if that's right. That's just what I'm doing.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you. It's like, at the show, it's like you said, people are walking around, you're getting all these cigars. They may not get to your cigar till later in the day. It may have been the 15th cigar they smoke. By then, your palate's probably burnt out. So are they really getting the true nuances and the flavors of your cigar? Are they really giving it the true test? I agree with you. I don't think you have to come out. I've always been someone who said, it's great as a cigar smoker because there's so many different cigars. But reality, I think the market's flooded. I really do, because there's a lot of cigars and we all could sit here and say, oh man, I used to love this cigar, but you haven't gone back and smoked that for years and you loved it. Right. So it's not fair. I think it's flooded. I think it's too much. I think we don't have to come out all the time with new cigars. I think we can let cigars, smoke them, enjoy. There's so many cigars. So how many people are actually smoking every cigar out there? It's very small. Yeah. Very small.
I agree. Every once in a while, somebody puts out a cigar that's new and different. But for the most part, man, if we don't have the palate covered by now in a typical big humidor, it's getting less about the cigar and more about the marketing. Yep. And I agree with you. I think there's plenty of great cigars, and I'd like to see, I have some core cigars that I smoke that aren't mine as well. But yeah, I'd like it to get back to, these are cigars and that perpetual market of always having something new and always, this is the latest and greatest and the LEs and people putting out LEs that I think are just ridiculously small runs.
Right.
It's like, oh, we got an LE and we only have 50 boxes. I'm like, wow, was that even worth doing? So yeah, I don't know the answer to that. Mm. I don't know the answer to, I think it has to naturally slow down at one point, or the entire model of the industry is going to dramatically change, that it's nothing but small batch run. And we're rejockeying for position on a shelf every 5 weeks because someone's got a new cigar that's in limited amounts. Yeah. And that's really tough. I think what's happening though is, and I'm seeing it with my portfolio, is I'm seeing more of happening within the brand, more brand loyalty now, because they're now, because of where I am now, I'm finding people going, man, I can't wait for the next thing that Fred creates. And now they're like, oh, this is, so now I'm covering a whole spectrum within my own brand. And people that are very brand loyal, like when the 8613 came out, the chatter on that before I released it and even talked about the blend, guys were like, oh, I can't wait to try it. But I'm playing in my own universe that way. I think that's acceptable. But when you've got everybody doing it and playing against each other that way, man, that's just a lot of noise. And then you can't figure out who the good ones are and who isn't.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. It's crazy. Even, you look at Twitter or Instagram, it's just nonstop. Hey, wait for this new blend. This is coming out, my LE15 or my, LE16. And you get all these new hypes. And I don't know if it kind of hurts manufacturer because granted, okay, if I smoked your 8613, even though it's new, okay, but then you come out with the 8614, later on this year, and I'm like, wow, I like that better. So how many people are going to say, oh, I like the 8613, I really did, but now I like the 14. So now maybe your sales on the 13 go down. Okay, so your sales on the 14 go. Well, wait till the next thing comes out. Now your sales. Yeah, I think sometimes it might hurt manufacturers, especially small batch manufacturers, small guys that are doing boutique cigars. I think it can kind of hurt you.
It's definitely a different model. It's definitely a churning the latest and greatest model, which I think is hard to sustain building a brand, although some people have done it very well.
Yep.
I've been fortunate that like everything in my portfolio is dramatically different and probably will be for the next several blends. What you do at that point is just continually reiterate the brands that you have and make sure that you're there presence-wise, which a lot of your big guys are struggling right now because they're trying to go, man, I've got a great cigar, and no one's buying it because they're chasing the next shiny object. And I don't know. I mean, that trust me, that's a big debate among cigar manufacturers right now is how do you walk that tightrope of supplying something new but not bastardizing the rest of your line?
Right. I mean, what's wrong with coming out with let's say you got 2 core lines you come out with, right? And you have, let's just say 4 different sizes in those 2 lines. Well, what's wrong with next year sticking with those 2 core lines and coming out with a different size? You're still tweaking the tobacco. You're still giving them something different, but it's still in that core line. And then, okay, a couple years ago, and now you come out with another line. You got obviously, as a manufacturer, you got to build your portfolio. That's understandable. But man, do we have to flood the market with every year? I got to come out with a new line, and now you got 20 core lines. Well, you got to be feeling something on those lines that you originally started. Even though they're still great lines, you got to feel something. So, well,
the retailers are just like, enough. The retailers are starting to push back and go, I've only got so much space.
Exactly.
And it gets very confusing for them to decide what to bring in.
Yeah. And you got all these manufacturers fighting for that space on the shelf. There's only so much room on that shelf. So either your original lines are going to start getting pulled to bring in your new line. So now that's hurting sales on your original line, which may have been your best selling line. Right. And now you're taking a chance, not that the new line can't be great, but you just took a great selling line and now you're taking a risk on a new selling line. So there's got to be a fine line somewhere that, man.
Yeah, there's a balance there somewhere. Fortunately, since I'm still building a portfolio, I don't have to play that game yet.
Right.
And you're seeing some people that are just nonstop churning, not sunsetting any blend. And then you walk in and they got 50 different blends out there and 4 SKUs per blend or whatever. And then you got other guys that are, some big guys that are saying, look, if we're going to bring something in new, we got to phase something else out. And my sense of it for me is that's probably more inclined the direction I would do is once I've covered the spectrum completely, you have to look at, okay, I'm going to have to phase this out, because I've made a better version of that cigar. Let's phase this one out. But you don't want to overwhelm everybody, and it's awesome for the consumer,
sure,
but it sucks for everybody else.
To a point, though, I mean, as a cigar smoker, when I walk into cigar shops, it's been kind of amazing this past year, really, where I'm seeing things still on the shelf at some cigar shops that were from, let's say, October, special October, some from Christmas things that were done. Yeah. They're still there. And, because like people are like, all right, I'm getting tired of just running after these things all the time.
Right.
And, it's nice to have, and which I do want to talk about before we run out of time, your original Nomad cigar. I mean, I love the Fugitive. I love the Fugitive, which you aren't making anymore, are you? You're making the Fugitive too.
The Fugitive. Yeah. The original Fugitive, is an awesome cigar. The problem was it's just too pricey to roll and have on the shelves. The Nicaraguan stuff's cheaper for me to do than the DR stuff is. and it's such a difficult cigar to roll. They can literally roll 2 or 3 other cigars in the same amount of time. And I keep playing with it, but it would have to be a $12 cigar on the shelf, which I'm just not willing to do yet. But it may happen at some point. And just to finish one thing on the thing you're saying before, the one cool thing from a cigar geek standpoint of all this turnover is when you walk in a humidor and you find some of that older stuff that you love, but it hasn't been able to move because everybody's distracted by the next shiny object.
Right.
You know, I walked into the humidor here and they had Dion's 2014 Singularity, which I love that cigar, and I don't see anymore. I'm like, oh, I'll take those. You know, so every once in a while you get those jewels in there, but it's hard to find in the noise. And it's also not fair to the retailer, not that cigar, but other stuff he's got sitting on the shelf that he just can't move. So the retailers are not going as deep on a portfolio or backstock because they're just like, man, I just don't know if I'm able to move it all.
Yeah. I mean, imagine being a new cigar smoker, just getting into you're just starting to smoke cigars, and you walk in a humidor now, you got to sit there and go, holy shit, man. Yeah. Where do I even begin? Granted, you can ask questions and ask the people there, but you still are overwhelmed. And by the time you start smoking and you start figuring out, okay, I like this tobacco, now you're still behind because new stuff just came out again. You're still it's just crazy.
Well, for the new guys, what we do is we create this pamphlet, and you just need to look for the words Nomad and really work through the portfolio. And then if you need some recommendations on some other stuff, then I could certainly help you out. But that's where I would start.
There you go. There's Fred's plan. Simple.
And really that's from a professional right there.
That's right.
Oh, don't try this at home, people.
That's right.
So how is your core Nomad line doing yet? I mean, it's still out there.
You know, it is. The core Nomad, the Fugitive 2 is phenomenal. That one's selling a lot. The 6x60 size sells a lot among that group that likes that. The Vagabond is really big in the winter. It's a short Perfecto. It's actually called the Mini. Internally, it was called the Mini Fugitive. It's the same cigar, same tobacco, just shorter. The Torpedo was probably the biggest mistake, but that was my first blend, first cigar. I've got enough Torpedoes in my warehouse in DR to last that line like 6 years. I don't know I think Torpedoes in general are down with the exception of box press. And so I'm waiting another year and then I can slap a vintage sticker on it and then sell them for more. So from a sunsetting standpoint, and as your question, it's doing well among that audience. The other cigars, the other parts of the line are certainly outselling it. And I think that's partially because, look, the classic line is a classic Dominican cigar that I would honestly, I'll put that Fugitive 2 up against any other classic Dominican cigar, construction, flavor, everything across the board against any big guy. But the thing is, there's also a lot of those cigars in the humidor. So what I will probably do at some point is I will probably sunset a couple of those sizes, but I don't see getting rid of those 3 sizes of the line anytime in the near future, particularly the Fugitive 2 and the Vagabond, which I think are great.
You could do like a limited edition 10-count box and do like a special roll in like a Torpedo or something, and sell them that way.
Yeah. Repackage them. Yeah. They're great cigars, but I also see, and I've talked to a lot of retailers, Torpedoes just in general, if they're not box pressed, sales are down on those considerably.
I would believe you. Let me ask you.
Or I could tape them 2 together, and then I would have like a 90 ring page or something.
The missile.
Yeah. Oh, the missile. There you go. But, yeah.
Well, let me ask you this, Fred, because we're getting close to the time, and I want to ask you this: has there been a blend that you made that? It's a 2-part question. A blend that you made and you said, no, this sucks. This isn't what I was thinking. And what have you made a blend that you haven't put out that you made just for yourself?
Yes and yes. There's been a lot of them that have sucked. No, I mean, for whatever reason, I seem to have a pretty good palate at the blending stage that I get pretty close out of the gate. Certainly, there's a lot of them that I'm like, that didn't plan. When I first started playing, like the Maduros, which I've played with for 2 years, man, I could not get my arms around the broadleaf. I could not get my arms around that at all. So if I was to pick a category of tobacco that I had a million misses on, it was definitely the Maduro. The Maduro was just challenging, partially because I don't smoke a lot of Maduros, partially because what I was going for was just wrong. So there was a learning curve on the Maduro, just as there was a learning curve on the Connecticut. There was even more so on the Maduro. So I probably had a lot of Maduros that I just didn't put out. As far as stuff rolled for me personally, there are sizes that I have that are rolled for me personally. The original Fugitive I have rolled for me personally. But so far, with the exception of one, everything I've still put out. I've still put out into production or plan to put into production at some point. If I really, really like it, then I lay it down and I revisit it a year later and go, okay, where am I? Does it fit the portfolio? Am I still just as happy with it? But I don't have too many blends that are like just for me personally that I wouldn't put out in the market. And partially because I get some really cool blends from some other manufacturers that they have that they're not going to put out, and they're really good cigars. So, but I'm slowly building up a few more of those, but usually it's more size related than it is anything else.
Okay,
nice.
cool.
So you have the original Fugitive rolled for yourself, buddy pal.
It's got a Lancero, torpedo Lancero.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, like we were talking about San Andreas, so I actually have some San Andreas Lanceros that I've had for quite a while that I'm playing with that are darn close to consider putting out. I keep tweaking them a little bit. The idea, because I kind of got hung up on Lanceros after releasing the Connecticut Lancero, and I'm like, man, these are good. And so interestingly enough, the Connecticut Fuerte worked great in a Lancero. The classic line did not work in a Lancero at all. It worked great in a Lonsdale. It did not work in a Lancero. So, and now I've been playing the San Andreas for some reason on that one. When I first started getting my arms around the San Andreas, I immediately went for Lonsdales, Coronas, and Lanceros is where I started on the blending process because I was focusing on the wrapper and backing my way into it.
Nice. All right. Well, I guess we are getting closer to the end. So, Fred, let's ask you this. Is there anything that we have not gone over with you that you wanted to touch base on?
Well, I was going to make fun of Mike for golfing in the snow, but...
you wouldn't be the first. There's a long line of people that laughed at me.
No, I mean, I feel I'm very comfortable now versus where probably last time in the show I've got a couple more blends and everything that I'm trying to build a brand. And the biggest thing I could probably say is that, you know, and I say it before, you know, I really appreciate people giving Nomad a chance. I know there's a lot of choices when you go in there. Someone asked me in Dallas, what a retailer asked me point blank. He says, you know, basically what makes you, you know, you're a white guy with a cigar. What makes you different than everybody else that's like that goes down there with money? And, you know, look, I go down to Nicaragua. I'm down there for 2 months at a time. I see a million guys come in, get handed a stick, and, you know, hey, throw your band on it. There's your new cigar. I'm actually down there trying to learn this stuff. So I have probably the most appreciation for, look, a guy walks in the humidor, maybe he's only smoking 3 cigars a week, but if one of the cigars he buys is mine, I truly appreciate that. It doesn't move the needle, but that's a guy that's spending 1/3 of his budget on my cigar. So I appreciate really people giving me the shot and allowing me to do. And whatever happens going forward, I mean, it's been an amazing run and it keeps building. And now it's got this momentum going that is really pushing it even faster. But I really appreciate, you know, the guy that gives it a shot. And now that I have a full portfolio, there's probably something in that line. And my biggest challenge is getting guys to try the cigar and try the right cigar for their palate, you know, their whatever their wheelhouse is. And when I do, like, I usually have a new Nomad fan. So I really appreciate people giving the shot. So I know there's a lot of choices. I know when you walk in that, it's overwhelming. And when you give my cigar a shot, that means something to me.
That's pretty good. Fred froze there for a little bit. Didn't he? He froze for me.
Yeah, he did freeze.
He was talking in his mouth. It's just open. It was like he was a ventriloquist in the background.
Catching flies.
It's something I've been working on. By the way, I've been working on my classic Dominican pose. So let me know how this looks. Ready? Yep. Hold on. I got to get ready. How's that?
There you
Perfect.
Go.
Perfect.
You got it.
Perfect. Well, let's do this, Fred. We're at the end of the show. And as always, our chat room came up with this question. So we're going to kill you. And I'm guessing maybe the answer might have changed from the. I think we had this question the last time he was on, right? Because it started in year 2. We might not have asked you this question, Fred. But I don't think we did either. But we're going to ask it to you now. So we're going to kill you. You're on your deathbed. You get one cigar and one size. What's it going to be?
I think I did have that question before. One cigar, one size. I'm going to go for a 5x50 of the 276. I'm not even going to go for the big cigar where people say I want as much time as possible.
Yeah.
I just want, for whatever period of time it is, to smoke that cigar, just to live it and reflect on everything that I did. That was the most complex cigar I made. It was the most fun to make. Yeah, I'm going with that.
Nice.
There you go. Awesome. Well, Fred, first of all, I want to say thanks again for taking time out of your busy schedule to hang out with us. We really appreciate it. I want to thank you for the samples you sent us. And I'll tell you, I'm about midway with the 8613, and it's killer.
Thank you.
I'm digging
I appreciate it. And thanks for what you guys are doing. You guys are why we're able to go do this stuff.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time out. We wish you the best, and we hope to have you back on again soon or next year, either one.
Absolutely.
Sometime.
All right.
Soon, next year.
Sometime we'll have
10
you
years
back.
from now. I don't know.
All right, Fred, we're going to let you go. We appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day, and thanks.
See you, Fred.
Thank you. Bye.
Oh, and yeah,
All
now it's
right.
all screwed up. See, it's damn it.
That always happens. Well, one thing I want to say, and then I know the hippie wants to say something. One thing I want to say is I want to wish Skip Martin to get healthy. I guess he's really sick. So everybody put him in your prayers. Hopefully everything will work out good. So Skip, if you see this or hearing this, we wish you the best, my man, and hopefully everything will work out for you, buddy.
We definitely do. That was sad news when we heard that, actually. So definitely get better soon and make some more cigars.
That's right. And then Hippie's got something he wants to say.
Yes, I wanted to say I was going to do it during the show, and we were just having such a blast. I didn't do it. But as you know, I'm here at the Tobacco Company, and I do the show live here from Lemoyne. And if you notice, the ad changed in the live video, and the ad changed on our website because they actually moved from Hershey, Pennsylvania to another location in Harrisburg. So now they have in Lemoyne and Harrisburg for their stores. So hopefully you guys can check it out. Hopefully I can get up there to their new store and take a look at it. Who knows? Maybe I'll be able to do a live show from at the brand new cigar shop up there. Have that new cigar smell. Look at that.
There you go. There you go. We want to thank Tobacco Company, as always, for allowing us to broadcast live from there. It means a lot to us. We appreciate it. And yeah, so that's it for me and the hippie. We'll keep posted. Follow us on Twitter at Stogie411, at Nightrid, at Hogman21. Follow us on Facebook at Stogie411, and make sure you join our RSS feed so you can keep up to date when the next shows are. And we'll let you know. So other than that, thanks for taking the time out on this Saturday to hang out with us. We always appreciate it. And I guess we'll see you soon.
Let me say I'm sorry to all my Facebook people that I automatically invited you to my Instagram when I signed up.
Yeah, the hippies finally on Instagram. So watch out.
I don't know. I didn't know what I was doing. They just think if it was Twitter, it would be a lot more people. So
that's true.
All right.
So. All right, everybody. We will see you soon. Thanks again.
See ya.
Bye now.